Lucy. What is going on? Hello?
My mom was a knife. She's shot her.
Who has a knife?
My sister.
Sabrina was born to abusive, alcoholic parents, and all she ever wanted was to have loving parents. Her dream finally came true when Lisa Knoefel, a kind-hearted woman, adopted her from foster care. But then, one fateful day, everything shattered. Lisa was found dead, and Sabrina in custody. No one knew what unfolded in the dark except for Megan Zanella, Sabrina's foster sister. What horrors lay hidden beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect family? Sabrina Zunick was born on October 27, 1994, right outside Cleveland, Ohio. Her parents struggled with severe drug and alcohol addictions, and that led to frequent arrests. Sabrina was barely given a chance to know a stable home, let alone a normal family life. Sabrina's life took yet another turn at the age of 14. She was sent to the Emma Cayley Receiving Home, a group home run by Children's Services in Lake County, Ohio. But then, everything changed when Sabrina met Lisa Knoefel at the age of 16. And for the first time, Sabrina thought she'd found her happy ending. Lisa Knoefel, a compassionate social worker at Cuyahoga County Department of Children and Family Services, took Sabrina in as her foster daughter and welcomed the troubled teen into her family, offering a chance at a normal life. For Sabrina, it felt like a second chance at life. She was surrounded by people who cared. Megan, Lisa's daughter from her first marriage, became the sister Sabrina had always wanted. And then there was Kevin, her foster father. He was a truck driver, usually on the road. But when he was home, he paid special attention to Sabrina, almost as if she were his daughter. He cared for her, supported her, and gave her the attention she had never received from any father figure in her life. The Knoefels treated her like one of their own, and Sabrina thrived in their care. Sabrina's newfound happiness was short-lived. Although she did well in school and was adored by her new family, her behavior at home started to shift. As things grew tense, Sabrina turned to Kevin for comfort. They began to grow unnaturally close. And the closer they became, the more distant Sabrina grew from Lisa, the very woman who had given her a new life. Sabrina's anger flared, leading to fights with Lisa, the woman who had once been her angel. Little did Sabrina know, this was just the beginning of a nightmare. Lisa was frustrated with Sabrina's behavior. She'd watched Sabrina turn cold and unpredictable, not only toward her, but also toward Megan and Haley. Lisa was done. She just wanted Sabrina out of the house, or so she thought. It was a seemingly ordinary evening on August 6, 2014. But as Kevin left the house, a strange exchange between Sabrina and Megan left a lingering feeling of unease. Megan couldn't shake the sense that something was amiss. Later that night, Sabrina's phone wouldn't stop ringing. The constant noise kept Megan awake, and she couldn't help but wonder what was going on. Finally, the phone fell silent, and the house was plunged into darkness. Hours later at 1 a.m., a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence of the night. Megan's heart raced as she realized that something terrible had happened. She scrambled out of bed, her feet hitting the floor as she ran down the hallway and down the stairs. And then, in the dim glow of the house lights, she saw it, a scene that would be burned into her memory forever. Sabrina stood over her mother, a 15-inch knife raised high. With a cold, determined look in her eyes, she plunged the blade into Lisa again and again. Desperate, Megan threw herself at Sabrina, trying to pull her away. But Sabrina, with a force that seemed inhuman, shoved her aside, sending her crashing onto the floor. Megan scrambled to her feet and ran to the office, hands shaking as she picked up the phone and dialed 911. Her voice was trembling, barely able to speak as she tried to explain what was happening. When the police arrived, they found Sabrina standing over Lisa's lifeless body. The bloody knife was still clutched tightly in her hand. The officers ordered her to drop the weapon, but she seemed oblivious to their commands. Her eyes were vacant, her expression blank. In the master bedroom, they found Lisa's lifeless body, a cruel picture of the horror that had just taken place. She had been stabbed 178 times, her head, her neck, her torso, her arms, and her legs covered in wounds. The attack had been so violent that the knife had actually bent. When the police arrived that night, Sabrina Zunick looked like a mess herself, bruised, battered, and in a state of complete shock. Sabrina was taken into custody immediately, but getting her to talk was a whole different challenge. Once she was at the hospital, Sabrina seemed distant. She claimed she'd only taken some ibuprofen, dozed off, and then woken up on a hospital bed. When investigators tried to get her to remember the events, she simply denied it.
So what do you recall?
Yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
getting done with my homework, going, I don't know, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bed.
And we were at home.
Mm-hmm.
What, anything unusual happen?
I don't know.
Every time detectives asked her a question, she'd respond with vague, dodgy answers, pretending she had no memory of the night's events.
From son the whole time. I don't know, she's
What are you listening to?
music.
Yeah. On what?
My left hand has a very good shape.
So you're listening to some music, you're not sure what's going on around you, basically, right?
It made everyone wonder, did Sabrina truly act alone in killing her foster mother? Or does a darker, hidden truth lie beneath the surface? The detectives couldn't shake the feeling that there was something they were missing. Amid all this chaos, everyone had the same question. Where was Kevin? At the time of the attack, Kevin Knoefel was reportedly on the road in Michigan. When he got the news, he drove back to Ohio, arriving at what should have been a devastating scene, yet his reaction was surprisingly calm. As detectives shared details about the cruel murder, Kevin seemed to care more about how the attack had played out than about the fact that his wife was dead. It was as if he was detached from the whole thing, which left investigators with a bad feeling. Watching Sabrina's strange behavior, the detectives decided it was time to have a word with Kevin, who was technically her foster parent. But instead of cooperating, Kevin refused to meet them directly and sent his attorney to speak on his behalf.
You told me you wanted to talk about his wife's work.
Correct.
That's the subject matter.
Yes.
So,
Kevin, do you know anything that was happening at the house the night before you left for work that night?
well, hang on a second. We just talking about his wife's work. What's going on at the house the night before is not his wife's work.
We're just trying to figure out what happened that night.
This was far from a normal reaction. With his wife brutally murdered, most would expect him to demand every detail. The detective in charge sensed something off and pressed the attorney. Whenever the conversation shifted to Sabrina, Kevin would steer the topic away. Something wasn't adding up. In the days that followed, things only got weirder. Right after the murder, Kevin began getting rid of Lisa's things.
All I know is that the next day, he was getting rid of my mom's stuff. She was just murdered. She didn't die from cancer. It wasn't, long coming or anything. She was murdered.
In the spring of 2013, Kevin made a call to the insurance company. He inquired about Lisa's life insurance policy, which had been quadrupled in coverage not long before her death. With that, he secured a payout of over $785,000. What followed was a spree of extravagant spending. Kevin bought new cars, a camper, and began extensive renovations on the house. He paid off the mortgage, purchased a vacation home in sunny Florida, and as if that wasn't enough, even started taking flying lessons. As the investigation unfolded, one thing was becoming clear to the detectives. Kevin Knoefel was hiding something.
I was looking over at Kevin. He had no emotion. It's like my mom was never there. Your wife was murdered, and you haven't even cried once? That's weird and sketchy. And that's when I knew he did this.
But Megan, along with the detectives, couldn't shake off one burning question. Why? Why would Sabrina do something so cruel to Lisa? And then there was Kevin. His behavior had been odd since that day, suspicious even, but they didn't have anything concrete to go on. Then one day Sabrina decided to speak. She agreed to talk to Karen Cowell, her prosecutor. Sabrina had been hiding something. She was trying to protect someone. As suspicions grew, it became clear that Sabrina wasn't the only one entangled in this case. Shockingly, the person at the center of it all was none other than Kevin Knoefel, her foster father. When Sabrina first moved into the Knoefel household, she was craving attention, something she felt she wasn't getting enough of from Lisa, and that's when she turned to Kevin. Sabrina revealed that her relationship with Kevin became sexual in the spring of 2012. Turns out, Kevin was a groomer, a predator who preyed on young, vulnerable girls. He made her feel special, showered her with attention, brought her gifts, shared secrets, and slowly gained her trust, creating this dependency that soon turned toxic. Over time, he started turning Sabrina against Lisa. He convinced her that the only way for them to be together was for Lisa to be out of the picture, permanently. Kevin's manipulations only grew more twisted. He went so far as to threaten suicide, making Sabrina believe that Lisa's presence was a threat to his life. Feeling cornered and convinced she was the only one who could save him, Sabrina became desperate. She even confided in her friend, asking if she knew anyone who could take care of Lisa, hinting at hiring a hitman. But when no other solution appeared, Sabrina made the horrific decision to do it herself. And so that night, Sabrina walked into Lisa's room. There was no turning back, and Lisa didn't stand a chance. As the investigation continued, evidence and testimonies piled up, painting a damning picture of Kevin's involvement. His role in orchestrating the crime became undeniable, exposing the twisted depths of his manipulation. On August 9, 2013, Kevin was formally arrested. The jury found Kevin guilty on all 11 counts, 6 counts of sexual battery, 3 counts of complicity to commit aggravated murder, and 2 counts of conspiracy to commit aggravated murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with a possibility of parole after 30 years. He'd be 73 by the time he could even think about freedom. Sabrina, meanwhile, pleaded guilty to aggravated murder in August 2014. She, too, was sentenced to life, with a chance of parole in 30 years.
Purposely caused the death of Lisa Knoefel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you use prior calculation and design or planning in order to commit that murder?
This entire case was like one tangled, twisted web, layer upon layer of betrayal and manipulation. So what do you think? Who's the darkest figure in this story? Was it Sabrina, who carried out the brutal act? Or was it Kevin, the true mastermind, pulling the strings from the shadows? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more cases like this. Thanks for watching.